Welcome back. So today I'm going to be talking about listening to other people's perspectives, especially perspectives of people of color, people who have had experiences that you haven't had, so that you can realize what they're going through on the daily that you may not ever have to deal with. Um, I will never know what it's like to be Black in the United States. Um, but it's my job to try to understand so that I can be a better person, so that I can be an ally. And so today I'm going to be sharing some stories with you from other people. Um, to begin with, these are adults, these are parents. And then I'm going to direct you to another video that is all kids talking about their experiences. And then we're going to work on our art a little bit more, talk about what stood out for us the most, and add that to our art. Okay? So, to begin with, there's a man named Shola Richards. He's 45 years old. He's African American. He's an author and a keynote speaker. And he posted on Facebook about what it is like for him to take a walk alone as a Black man. And this is what he says. "Twice a day, I walk my dog Ace around my neighborhood with one or both of my girls," he wrote. "I know that doesn't seem noteworthy, but here's something that I must admit. I would be scared to death to take these walks without my girls and my dog. In fact, in the 4 years living in my house, I have never taken a walk around my neighborhood alone, and probably never will. When I'm walking down the street holding my young daughter's hand and walking my sweet, fluffy dog, I'm just a loving dad and pet owner taking a break. But without them by my side, almost instantly, I morph into a threat in the eyes of some white folks. Instead of being a loving dad to two little girls, unfortunately, all that some people can see is a 6'2", athletically built Black man with a cloth mask who's walking around in a place where he doesn't belong, even though I'm still the same guy who just wants to take a walk through his neighborhood. It's equal parts exhausting and depressing to feel like I can't walk around outside alone for fear of being targeted." Let that sink in for a moment. He's a grown man. Okay. Shonda Thomas Whitfield is an African American writer, activist, and mother. And she writes about race issues often, but when it comes to talking to her children, it's difficult. So she says, "So why then am I speechless and disturbingly silent with my own two Black sons, ages 6 and 8, about the unrest exploding across the country in wake of Floyd's death? In a nutshell, plain and simple, I just can't bring myself to steal their Black boy joy. I believe it changes the hearts, minds, and souls of those who experience it. The damage often irreversible. I'm trying to spare my boys from that reality for as long as it is safely possible." So you can imagine that conflict. So here's another one. Lester Davis is Deputy Chief of Staff and Communications Director for the President of the Baltimore City Council. He's African American. He has 3 children, and when they went to camp, they wanted to bring their water guns with them. He told them they could not bring them, and he struggled with how to explain to them why. They were so young, 4 and 6, but he was very nervous about letting them play with anything that looked like a gun. And he says, "My reaction was a panicked one, wrapped up in parental fear stemming from recent events where African Americans were wounded or killed after police officers deemed their possession of replica firearms too much of a threat. On April 27th in East Baltimore, police shot a 14-year-old black boy after an officer mistook his BB gun for a semi-automatic pistol. He survived, but police killed 12-year-old Tamir Rice, a Cleveland boy, in November 2014 after a 911 caller reported seeing him brandishing what appeared to be a toy gun. And 22-year-old John Crawford III, who picked up an air rifle from a shelf at a Dayton area Walmart, was fatally shot by police after a shopper reported seeing a man with a gun. So none of these boys were committing crimes. They didn't even have real guns. One was a BB gun, one was just some kind of toy. The other, they were just in a store and picked up an air rifle. And two of them lost their lives, and one of them was shot but survived. So you can imagine a dad, how they might feel about letting their kids play with even toy guns. Okay, so Val Whiting lives near Seattle. She's African American and lives in suburban Seattle, said her 19-year-old son, the eldest of two teen boys, has had plenty of practice handling racism in their predominantly white neighborhood, from racial slurs on the soccer field to a car full of young people shouting the N-word before speeding off. So, I'm a parent, and like all parents, I worry about my kid. I bet your parents worry about you and say and do things to try to keep you safe. It is probably even a little annoying at times. I tell my kid to be careful when he's crossing the street, to dress warmly enough. I'm on his case about doing his homework, getting enough sleep, eating right, and I want him to tell me about any problems he has so that I can help him with them. One thing I've never had to do is worry that someone was going to harass, tease, or physically harm him just because of the color of his skin. He wears hoodies, listens to loud music, fools around on the public bus with his friends. The only interactions he's ever had with a policeman were petting a police horse in New York City on a vacation and being given a shiny police badge sticker outside a grocery store. When he was little, we told him that the police were there to help him, and he believed us. So this is part of my white privilege. I can only try to imagine what it would be like to have to worry about him the way these parents have to worry about their kids. It's wrong, and it's awful, and it's part of my responsibility as a human to do my part to make it better. So we're going to talk about ways to do our part later this week. For now, I'd like you to pause this video and go to the other video for today. You've heard some perspectives of adults. In this next video, it's all kids. They are 12, so just about your age, and they have really powerful stories to tell. So pause this, watch that video, and then come on back here. Okay, see you in a bit. All right, amazing, right? I wonder what it was like for you to hear those stories. Did it surprise you? Was it not so surprising? Can you try to imagine what it would be like to deal with that kind of thing on a daily basis? I love those kids. They're so brave to talk about it. Come on around, and I want to show you what I did with my poster today based on what we were talking about. I was really struck by those kids, and I just wrote down little snippets of some of the things that they said, and I'll go over them in Sharpie. But do you remember when she was talking about showing her food, and people were like, ew, what is that? And how bad that made her feel? And then she talks about they made us pay in advance. Remember, she went to a restaurant and they made her whole family pay before they even got their food. Like, that's not a thing. So what message are they sending? They're saying, we don't trust you. We either think you're poor or we think you're criminals who are going to run away and not pay your bill. And they knew nothing about them except the color of their skin. And that young man who said, I feel a little scared when I'm walking down the street because he's afraid that just because he's a young African American man that the police will come after him. And even he won't be able to explain himself. And you can understand why he might feel that way, because we hear story after story after story of that happening. And then I'm not going to steal it or anything. That young woman who just was shopping with her friends, I bet a lot of you have just gone into a store and just wanting to try on a dress and getting followed around the store. Because just because you're Black, you might steal something. And then that young man who's so smart and said, it would be better to pick someone who's more minded with the community than some of these other people who are going through this training that's allowing them to commit police brutality. Okay, so I love those kids. I also wrote down, I can't bring myself to steal their Black boy joy, because I just was so moved by what that, by Chandra Thomas Whitfield, what she said about not wanting to tell her boys what it's going to be like out there, like they haven't had to experience it yet. So, I hope that gives you something to think about, and think about, from all of those quotes, what are some things that moved you, and add them to your poster. It might be quotes like I did, or there might be something that you just want to draw. Think about whatever works for you, okay? And we'll see you later this week. Thanks for paying attention. I'll see you later. Bye.